Your body is the only way you are able to do what it is that you do. And so that is why the core care is so important for everyone, no matter how you make your living.
Hello, my creative friend. Welcome back to another episode of Create Today with Beth Buffington. You know, I love it when I have people come in and join me in a creative conversation. And today I'm bringing in one of my very favorite guests. This is Lisa Murphy. She's been with me so many times, I've lost count. She is here to talk to us today about how we can use creativity and make us a healthier, happier person with our core health. So Lisa, I am so glad you're here today. Come and join us in this conversation and just tell everybody, if this is the first time they're meeting you, a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Hi, Beth. Thank you so much. It is always such a pleasure to be here with you. And yes, I am indeed a life and health coach. And I'm calling myself a vibrant living coach right now for a very specific reason. I work with women in their middle years, perimenopause, menopause, and beyond to help them live more vibrantly and have adventures.
Well, I am 64. I just want to stay as vibrant as possible. So I like to talk to you because what we have found is that what you teach and what I talk about is a hand in glove experience between being a healthy person and being a creative person. And when you put those two together, you are a powerhouse of an individual. So let's talk about training. I am really curious and fascinated about the word training because creative fitness, you know, is a term that I like to use. And for me, creative fitness isn't just about, can I draw better today than I did yesterday? But it's about, can I be a happier and healthier person using my creativity today than I was yesterday? So let's talk about what we're training for, how we're doing it, and why it benefits us in so many places.
So I'm training for a lot of stuff this year since I'll be 60. I'm also training for 70, 80, 90, and beyond,
And yes.
right? And I am doing that with a specific event. I'm training for a big hiking adventure later this summer, early this fall. I'm going to through hike the Isle of Anglesey, which is an island off the northwest coast of Wales. I'm going to through hike their coastal path, which is 133 miles. I'm going to do it in 9 days. So I have a
Wow.
lot of training to do in the traditional sense that you might think like I've got to get my miles in, but I'm also training in mindset. I'm training in nervous system regulation. I also love the term creative wellness because I believe that we can use creativity in what it is that we're training for, and that we can use training in our creativity. They're both so important to each other. And I have learned that from you, how valuable creativity can be no matter what it is that we're training for. So, first, I would love just to share a definition of the word training. When we think about training, we might think of athletic pursuits. What I'm doing for my 60th adventure this year is a physical pursuit, but I want our listeners to understand that it doesn't have to be about that. It is a word that can apply to whatever it is that you want or you desire. And one definition of training is the structured and deliberate process of learning specific skills, gaining knowledge, or behaviors to improve performance, productivity, or capability. So, what that means to me is if you want something, you got to practice, you got to learn, you got to do so that you can get it, so that you can be proficient in whatever it is that you want. And that could be training for a big hike or a marathon, or it could be a non-physical pursuit. Having a goal, having a purpose, acknowledging our wants and our desires, something that we want to accomplish, is so important for so many reasons. And we could use the word training, or we could use the word intention, which is a word that I love to use a lot as well. An intention to me simply means that we are choosing, we are being deliberate, we are being mindful, and we are creating our life we are creating the results that we want.
Such good words. I think when you are moving towards a new season in your life, no matter what that decade is,
Mhm.
oftentimes moving into a new decade brings with you that sudden realization that, oh my gosh, I am not just a year older, I'm a decade older. And so finding that you still have vitality and that life has purpose to it, that is important. So I think a couple words you used, one was purpose. When you get up in the morning, do you have a purpose? And then the word you used, intention. What are you going to do when you get out of bed to do whatever it is you would like to get to?
Yeah.
And just a story on the bike trip that Tom and I took earlier this year, we were on the Gap Trail in Pennsylvania. One of the couples that were there, the wife was in her mid 70s and the husband was 81.
Wow.
And they were biking just as hard as any of us that were on the trip. So looking at them, what it did for me was it increased the perspective of how far I can go by saying, look at what they're doing and the vitality they have and the fun that they brought to the entire group. They were just as interactive as anyone. And it gave me that hashtag goals. I will be like that when I grow up, right? I
Mm.
want to be able to do this when I am that old. So, what do I need to do today in order to get there? So, and that is what training is all about, right?
Absolutely. It's really following a recipe. If you want to make blueberry muffins, you don't just magically manifest blueberry muffins. I mean, if you do, I want to know how because I would love some right now. But you have to prepare. You have to buy the ingredients. You have to find a recipe. You have to follow the recipe. You need to be intentional about what it is that you're wanting to create. And I think it's really important to, again, remind everyone that this doesn't have to be a physical pursuit. It can be any kind of goal, dream, wish, desire. And it doesn't have to be at a special birthday. It can be any cycle of life. And purpose is so important. We know this, especially as we are looking at health and wellness and longevity at any age. Having a sense of purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, it keeps us going and it actually does improve our health. And science shows data is out there that says when we set and publish our goals to the world, like I'm doing right now, we are much more likely to actually achieve them.
But consistency is key. You're not going to be able to go and walk 133 miles if you wait to train a week before you go.
No, that would be the payback.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Nor will you be able to hike 133 miles if the first day you train you think I'm going to go walk 20 miles today. I mean, you have to be able to say what do I realistically need to do in order to get where I want to go? And then how can I break that up into tiny little snackable, doable, enjoyable events so that I can actually reach my goal? I listened to a researcher that was talking about setting those goals and actually carrying through to fruition. And he broke it down so tiny, even tinier than I thought I would have done. He said, let's just say your goal is that you're going to run a mile. And right now, you're just a real couch potato, but you want to run a mile. And he said, so the first thing you want to do is just make sure you have good running shoes. So go and get yourself some running shoes. And then he said, then the next thing you want to do is you want to set your running shoes out somewhere where you can access them. And then that's all you need to do today. And then he said, the next day, just put your running shoes on and walk around in them. And then that's all you're going to do. And then the next day, you're going to put your running shoes on and then you're going to go out and get your mail. And he just kept adding on to what he was doing. So if you were someone who thought, I have never run even 2 feet in my life, but I would love to run a mile. How can I make this happen for me? If you break it down into those tiny little snackable bites, it will eventually happen because you just add a little bit more every day. But if you don't continually and consistently stretch yourself, then
Mhm.
you're only going to be walking around in your new shoes. And you don't want to be one of those people that thinks, I'll be able to do new stuff. I just have to buy more gear. I have to
Yeah.
buy more supplies. So, what is it that you need to do? And then, how are you going to plug that in so that you can actually get to where you'd like to go?
I love that. I call that setting the conditions for success and eliminating obstacles or clearing the clutter, right? Like the excuses that might get in the way. And I think you bring up so many really fascinating topics. One thing that came to my mind is this really weird concept called an optimism bias. And it's easy to think that Murphy's Law, right? Everything that can go wrong will. You might be aware of negative people in your life, or sometimes you think, oh, I'm being negative. I want to be so positive. We have to be mindful of that. I think it's good to be aware of that tendency if we have it. But there's also something called an optimism bias where we think, oh, yes, I can do that. I can be ready for that in 6 weeks. I can create a beautiful quilt to hang on my wall in 6 weeks. I can do it. It's not realistic. Just like the example that you gave us with the running shoes. If you're going to create a beautiful quilt to hang on your wall, you have to have a pattern. You have to have supplies. So having a plan, a roadmap, and momentum is so much more powerful than motivation. We can get all motivated, woohoo, yaha, optimism bias, but we really need to start taking the steps that you just described. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yes.
And that's what I've been doing. I have a training plan for this that involves getting my miles in. It involves my nutrition, my sleep, and it involves creativity. And it involves creativity in two ways that I would love to share with you.
Yes, please do.
The first is I have to be really creative with my schedule to fit all of this in.
Mm.
And for me, that is one of the biggest challenges. And so I'm getting really creative. If I've got to do 6 miles today, I only had time to do four this morning, so I'm going to do two tonight. It's okay to allow the ebb and flow of life. And the other thing, and I learned this from you, is how important creativity is to our mindset, our nervous system. It has just been unbelievable to think about the benefits that practicing even small amounts of creativity can bring to our lives. And for example, I'm a gardener. I love to garden. I was not being creative with my gardening. I planted everything, I water it, I maintain it. I might go out and pull the weeds, but I was missing that sweetness, that noticing, that
Mhm.
bringing creativity to my garden, how much it can enhance it. And so now when I'm going out, after a reminder about that, I might pick some flowers. I might even just pull some petals off of a marigold that's past its expiration date and sprinkle them on the ledge of my porch. And this benefits me in my training in this way. It is encouraging me to slow down. It encourages me to notice. It encourages me to be joyful. And I know how good it is for my nervous system. So, those are the two ways that I'm really pulling creativity into my training this season.
Those are some great examples and advice for how to make your training easier. And it made me think of a couple things that I do when I'm gardening. In my garden, you guys, it's just tomatoes. I only grow tomatoes. When I go out and water the tomatoes, it could be just a chore, like, the tomatoes need to be watered or I won't have tomatoes. But I try to look at my tomato time as a break from my computer
Mm,
time.
mm,
So when I go outside, I always go out barefoot. And I
mm,
like to think about my feet in the grass. And I read somewhere where you are getting more from your time outside when you allow your feet to touch the dirt. that there is a sensation of absorption of the energy of the earth and the sensations that you're getting from what you're feeling on the ground with your toes. And then when I'm biking, my goal is, can I go farther than I've gone before so that Tom and I can take some of these longer trips where I need to bike 50 or 60 miles through the day? This summer, getting past the 40-mile mark was my goal. So collecting data is something that I do. If I know that 40 is where I want to be, I will figure out what is halfway and how far am I to halfway. And then when I get to halfway, then I
Mhm.
start working on the next half. The other thing I do is I make sure that when we're biking, we have a destination to get to. I have something to
Mm.
look forward to, and it's typically the halfway point. When we get to 20 miles, we're going to stop. We're going to have ice cream. We're going to have lunch. There has to be a destination for me. So I love to have data that's helping me. It's strange that something technical like that is what I think is creative in getting through something that is a challenge. And then knowing that I'm going to enjoy something at a destination is huge. Do you find that when you're hiking?
Absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful example of bringing creativity into whatever it is that you're training for. Look, we all like to be rewarded, and we all like ice cream, and we all like to make a happy check mark. I love what you said about using creativity as a break. So, no matter what it is you're training for, maybe it's even a deadline at work, right? Having creativity as something to look forward to as your halfway point, as your break. I think that's so cool. And because I'm passionate like you about what I do for my work, I have a tendency to get my head down in my computer, whether I'm talking to clients or creating content. I have started setting the timer on my phone to go off every hour so that I take a creativity break. And it might just be a noticing walk around my garden. It might be doing a few doodles. It might be picking up some of my mini craft supplies that have been purchased. So, yeah, taking breaks. Why not let that be creativity as well instead of collapsing on the couch or flipping on the TV? I find creativity very useful as both the break and the reward that you talked about for getting halfway or getting through the hour.
Indeed, indeed. If you have an Apple Watch will ping you and let you know if you have not stood up and moved at least a minute during the hour. It pings you at 10 to the hour and it says, "Hey, it's time to stand." And so
Yeah.
when I get that, I try and pay attention. And that is when I'll go out and water the tomatoes. And maybe the next time I'll go out and I'll pick some tomatoes, or maybe I'll go take Raspberry for a walk. When you can allow yourself to get up and have that creative break, it energizes you so that when you sit down again, you can get focused faster and feel a little bit more refreshed. It's a strange thing to think that taking a break is actually going to give you more energy and more focus, but it does.
Yeah, I think we fight that in our world, in our society. We're so conditioned that we have to push, push, push and just get through. There's been so many studies about the productivity of overtime and what corporate America may not want to acknowledge, but the science is out there that when employees work overtime, they don't get any more done than they did when they work a 40-hour week. They just spread it out. So I think that speaks to the power of taking breaks and making sure that we're keeping our own cup full before we try to produce anything at all.
Let's go back to talking about training. When I was looking at turning 60, I was hearing a lot about weightlifting. And so I started working out. I bought a bunch of weights and I found a YouTube channel with Heather Robertson. She just has some really great tutorials that I follow. And I've been now lifting weights for about 4 years and I am stronger. I am lifting heavier weights than when I started. And I see a big difference in small
Mm-hmm.
things like I can load my suitcase in that overhead bin just like I'm dunking a basketball. And I can open up jars better now. I mean, just the smallest things. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean, Lisa?
Yes, good for you. I think it's one of the most overlooked but important practices that we can do no matter what it is. that we're training for, because aren't we all training for, in some sense, the future? So strength training, resistance training is one of the most important things that you can do without a doubt, hands down. And I'm really glad you brought strength and resistance training up, because I am indeed incorporating that into the training I'm doing for my hike. No matter how old we are, we need the cross training, we need the different things. The parallels between creativity are so many, that using our bodies in a different way, just like creativity uses our brain in a different way. So, yes, I'm getting the mileage in, and yes, I am lifting a lot of heavy things to prepare my body for this. And that is really, really important as well.
I read an article just the other day that if there's one thing you can do that is going to help you live longer, it's keep your legs strong,
Mm.
because balance is so important. And I don't think you can not think about this too early. Having
Oh, for
strong
sure.
legs and strong balance, it is so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're correct. It's never too early to start thinking about training for our 60s and our 70s and beyond. And having strong legs to support us is one of the most important things. So I can just share a little bit about what I'm doing. In addition to walking the miles, which we know that in of itself, when we get that heel strike, it is good for our bone health. And then I have three routines that I'm playing with right now. One is legs. So one day I go to the gym and I use weights to do squats and deadlifts and lunges and things like that to strengthen all the different parts of my legs. I am doing a day of upper body strengthening. I don't want to have these teeny little frail arms, because if I do catch a toe and fall, I don't want to break my arm, right?
Exactly.
And then I do one day that's kind of an all body core mobility, so that I'm hitting all the different parts of my body. And it's recommended that we work all the major muscle groups at least twice a week, if possible. And if you're new to this, back to your example, I love that about the running shoes. Remember optimism bias. You don't go to the gym and load a barbell with 500 pounds.
No.
You want to get whatever resources you need, right? Maybe you need some help. Maybe you need a gym membership. Maybe you need to buy the weights like you did for your own room. And then you start slow, lest you get injured or hurt. So, again, no matter what you're training for, what is your goal?
Mhm.
What do you want and why? You might have heard people talk about their why. Why is it that you want what you want? And then you need a system to set up some benchmarks, some halfway points, complete with rewards,
Yes.
and be creative with all this so that it's fun, so that you want to do it. You want to get up when it's raining and go do your 6 miles, or you want to sit down at your table and work on your project, whatever it is. So I think those are the most important steps to training, whatever it is for. What are you training for? Why do you want to do it? What resources do you need? And then you need a plan.
One of the things about creativity is authenticity. So, what do you need, right? So, when you're planning for something like this, you have to think, how will I best reach my goal? For me, with my weights, it was better for me to be in my own room without feeling like a lot of people were judging me, like, why is that lady only lifting 2 pounds? Right. So I was able to build up in my own room without thinking everyone was watching me. I worked well by myself. But not everybody does that. Some people need to have a coach that's going to say, okay, let's start small. And I will be here every Tuesday, Thursday, wondering where you are. And that's what they need. Other people need a group where they can go and feel accountable because they just work better with a group. But everyone needs to find out what they need for their own success. And I think that's part of creativity is finding what's going to work and get you that momentum that you talked about, right? Because once you get started, that momentum is going to give you that consistency. And that is where, once you start seeing your muscles build, you're like,
Mm.
wow, what could I do if I did a little more? You get that excitement because you see the progress that you're making.
Yeah, it's infectious, isn't it? Progress is infection, just like being around someone who really is a lot of fun. And yeah, 100% know what support you need. It's so important. And sometimes it takes a village, you know? I enlisted a personal trainer to help me with the weight training program. My partner Rob is an ultra athlete, so he's helping me with the mileage program. And I have my own therapist and my own coach and my own community, including one that I share with you, our Sylva Sessions, that encourages my creative part of the training. So we don't have to do this alone. What support do you need? Is it accountability? Is it someone to help you come up with the system? We also don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are people who have done these things and more who can lend their expertise to this. That's why community is one of the core tenets of the work that we do together. We need to take care of ourselves, core care. We need to take care of our creativity, creative care. And we need community. We all need community of some sort.
Even if you're a hermit like me, you still need to have that community where you can have someone that checks in on you or that celebrates, like, oh my gosh, look what you just did. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Someone also that can say, and look where you started and look where you are right now.
Mm, yeah.
Because when you're starting from like, I just bought my shoes and I can't run a mile right now, but I'd like to get there. When you have someone that is helping follow along with you, when you get to that point where you have walked around the block, make that a celebration. I mean,
Absolutely.
you weren't able to do the block before, and now you've done that. And now you're going to celebrate when you are able to run a quarter of a mile. Celebrate all the bitty parts. And
Absolutely.
because those were goals that you did reach, and it's just going to help that momentum. And once that momentum starts, it's like a snowball rolling down a
Yeah.
hill. It not only is going to get bigger, but it's going to go faster.
Yes, you're unstoppable. I'm already thinking about what am I going to accomplish and attempt next year,
Yeah.
right? And I'm really glad you mentioned the starting point because this is huge. Don't set a goal when you're feeling down in the dumps. So wait until your vibration is high, you are inspired. So when I decided I was going to do this, it was a year ago. I was in Wales. I was segment hiking this path. I've never done the whole thing, but I've done lots of the little segments. I was like, you know what? Next year I'm coming back for my 60th and I am doing this whole thing. And I proclaimed it right then and there. My
Nice.
energy was high. It was so far out in the future that my critter brain couldn't get involved and go, well, how are you going to pay for that? Who's going to carry your stuff? How are you going to train? That was off the table. I pre-decided from this high vibrational place what I was going to do. So the momentum, the ball was already rolling. So how could I not? How could I
Exactly.
not show up for myself in this way?
The magic lies outside of our comfort zone.
Because if we don't set goals for ourselves, if we don't allow ourselves to acknowledge our dreams and our desires and our wishes, I mean, it's just boring. We're just stuck in this box. And let's be honest, there are going to be roadblocks. I might not finish. I mean, when we attempt something that is a stretch, there's a chance that we won't make it. That's okay too. What matters is that we put ourselves out there and that we tried and that we did our best. And I think no matter what it is you're training for, to commit to yourself. And that's really the only person that matters. And I call my training sessions sacred appointments with myself.
Yes, you've given yourself permission to do something just for you.
Yes, it is just for me. Nobody else is going to care.
Nope. Yeah. And see, the thing is, walking 6 miles today was your sacred time with yourself.
Yeah.
But there is part of your brain that could say, oh, but is that going to take anything off your to-do list? Is it going to help your clients at all? Is it going to help your business go from this step to the next step? I think not. It's just walking. So why don't you do that after you get all the important stuff done,
Mhm.
Lisa?
Mhm.
And then what you need to say is, Lisa's inner critic, hush, hush.
Yeah.
No, walking 6 miles is doing something for me. It's doing something for my confidence today. It's going to do something for my physical health tomorrow. And it is important. And so I am going to give myself permission to go out and attempt to get this done and
Yeah.
see how far I can go. And if I don't do 6 miles today, okay, at least I tried.
Yeah.
And you can celebrate the trying. One of the things that I say in my Create.today membership all the time, do your best and then go to bed. And then
Oh,
we've,
I
we've said that
love
so much that
that.
people are like, we need to put that on a pillow.
Do your best and go to bed. I love that so much. And something else I just wanted to hit on that you mentioned, Beth, when we show up for ourselves, it does affect how we show up for our art, for our work, for our families.
Yes,
100%.
it does.
100%. It matters in all of those ways, not just to ourselves, but when I'm doing the things that I know I need to do to take care of myself, I am a much kinder human being to all of those around me. So it
Yeah.
is not selfish. It is the opposite of being selfish. It is actually loving and kind and caring.
If you were working at a job and your manager, your boss, or whoever is that person that you report to, if they would talk to you the way you talk to yourself,
Mm,
would you quit your job?
mm,
And if you think about it, a lot of us are really harsh with ourselves. And so, yeah, if we had an employer that was that harsh to us, we would be going to HR. We would be looking for
yeah.
another job.
Yeah, and that's maybe where a community or a buddy or another form of more formal support can really come in because we will all have those moments when we're not feeling great about ourselves and what we do. And that's when a phone call to Beth will perk me up, or popping into Sylva Sessions, our creative wellness community, and just being surrounded by people who believe in us. And sometimes that it's hard to believe in ourselves, but we do that for other people, and then they do that for us.
So, Lisa, let's just talk for a second about what Sylva Sessions is, because we've brought it up a couple times now. For those of you who are listening, you're not familiar with Sylva Sessions. This is a creative wellness group that meets online. We have people who are coming to share their journey, and it is some powerful moments.
I know you work with a lot of creatives, and I've worked with a lot of creatives myself. And something that I think is common is like, well, look, I'm an artist. What difference does it make if I work out or if I eat well or whatever? Well, it makes all the difference in the world because your body is the only way you are able to do what it is that you do. And so that is why the core care is so important for everyone, no matter how you make your living. And again, we've talked a lot today about how important creativity can be to your wellness. And the community aspect is just unbelievable. And all three are so important. And we really do need them all. We really do to be a happier, healthier, holistic person.
And we talk about the science behind that. So it's not a bunch of woo. There's actually reasons why we talk about what needs to be done in order for you just to feel confident about who you are and how you are moving comfortably in your body for where you are now and decades down the road. If you're interested in signing up for Sylva Sessions, Lisa and I would be delighted to have you come and join us. There's going to be a live link in the show notes that will take you right to the registration page. Or you can learn more about Sylva Sessions by going to www.bdi-create.today. There's a lot of ways you can go about looking at how Sylva can be a guide for your creative wellness.
And in the meantime, I would love to know what our listeners are training for.
Oh my
Shoot,
gosh, yes.
shoot us a message. Wouldn't that
Yes.
be fun to hear what everyone else is training for?
Go to our Instagram accounts. We want to know. So please do that. It'll be exciting to see what everyone's training for because I think everyone has something that they want to do. Whatever your intentions are, whatever your goal is, we want to know about it. We want to help you celebrate that. So, Lisa, as always, we could just keep talking for the next hour or two or until tomorrow. I am so glad you were able to come today and talk about what we're training for. I hope that everyone that is listening, your mind is just churning about what you're training for and how it's either going to make it easier for you to train or it's going to make you think about a goal that you want to train for. But whatever you choose to do in your life today, my friend, whatever you do, I want you to stay creative. Thanks for coming, Lisa. It's always just a treat to have you here to have a conversation.
Thanks, Beth.